The Story of Mulan, Session 2, Chapter 2, In the Shadow of Black Mountain. Astride her copper-colored horse, Mulan sped like a comet through the night. In the morning she reached the army camp at the foot of Black Mountain. She marched up to the captain and told him the village she came from. "Your name?" he asked, thumbing through the list. Mulan gave her father's name. "Very well," said the captain. "Your family will be checked off. Make camp wherever you wish. We ride out in the morning." Mulan breathed a sigh of relief as she spread her bedroll by the river. "They are safe," she murmured to her horse. "Somewhere along this river, my family is safe." The girl sat down on her bedroll. The only sounds were the sad cries of birds and the rough laughter of the soldiers. Mulan bit her lip. She could not hear father's voice or her mother's slippers shuffling along the floor. She wished to hear her little brother roar just once more. Tears welled in her eyes. Angrily she shook her head. "Little sisters have no place in an army camp," she muttered. "I promised I would be the older brother, so older brother I shall be." She pulled her sword out of her belt, ran to the river, and tore off her helmet. Thick waves of smooth, shiny hair cascaded down her back. Again and again the sharp blade flashed in the moonlight until the lovely black tresses were nothing but a dark pile in the mud. Mulan ran her hand over her nearly bald head. Then for the last time she cried. But the river ran by murmuring, "Shh, shh," and finally Mulan fell asleep. The captain was true to his word. In the morning the company rode out to face the fierce warriors on the plain. Vultures shrieked overhead. The wind stilled and the air grew heavy. The horses swished their tails. Then a dark cloud appeared on the horizon. The cloud grew larger as it rolled toward Mulan and the army, but this was no storm. It was the terrible shadow of the enemy. The two armies faced each other on the plain. Mulan could see the warriors' face. They had darker skin and different uniforms, but surely they too had mothers, fathers, and little brothers who roared. "Who are these people?" Mulan wondered. "Will any of us ever see our families again?" But then the drums were sounded, the battle cry filled her ears, and war sang in her veins. Without hesitation, Mulan spurred her horse and thundered into the fray. Those who saw Mulan fight that day whispered, "That soldier is a tiger. His sword is 10,000 silver claws." After the battle, the soldiers invited Mulan to eat with them. Her modesty and kind ways earned her much respect and many friends. In battle after battle, Mulan's bravery inspired fear in her enemies and awe in her comrades. And so she rose through the ranks like a dragon through the clouds, until at last Mulan was made a general. 10 winters had blasted the land with their freezing breath when General Mulan marshaled her tired troops. "We have fought for 1,000 years," she said to her soldiers, "but now our enemy flees before us. He hopes to hide in the mountains and regain his strength. He thinks we are too lazy, too clumsy to chase him in winter." Mulan paused and then said firmly, "Someday this war will be over. Our names and deeds will be forgotten, but our glory will shine in the face of every man, woman, and child who loves our country and calls it by name, from now until the end of time. Follow me and we shall end this war and see the new dawn of our golden kingdom as the sun shines forth in spring." The soldiers cheered and readied their horses. As fast as flying, General Mulan hunted the enemy. The icy wind never blew without carrying the rattle of her soldiers' shields, and the sun never rose without reflecting off Mulan's armor. At last, when the first trees burst into leaf, General Mulan stood at the top of a mountain with her army behind her and looked at her country, free once more. In the distance, she spied the river and thought, "Again, they are safe. Somewhere down that river my family is safe." She turned to her soldiers. "We have won," she said, and plunged her father's sword into the ground. Up and down the northern border, every soldier, captain, and general celebrated their victory. But as General Mulan sat down to eat with her troops, a man approached her. His face was hidden in shadows, but he wore the insignia of the Emperor. "General," his voice rumbled, "you have been summoned." Chapter 3, Mulan's Return. Mulan knelt before the Emperor's throne. "He knows I am a woman," she thought. "I have disgraced my country and myself by lying, and now he will have me killed." The Emperor studied Mulan. "Who is this general whom I have heard so much about? Who is at once both fierce and gentle, wise and playful, mighty and humble?" he wondered. He looked at Mulan's face. It was weather-beaten and wrinkled now, but there was something about it. Something. The Emperor's jaw dropped slightly. He covered his mouth with his hand and pretended to yawn, but nothing could disguise the amazement in his eyes. The Emperor coughed a little and then said, "General." Mulan squared her shoulders ready for death. We are indebted to you for your brave service to our country. We offer you anything you wish for your reward. Name your heart's desire, and it shall be yours." Mulan replied, "To serve my country and my people is my heart's desire. I have need of nothing more." The emperor raised his eyebrows in thought. Then he said, "We serve best when we serve for the sake of those we love. Go home, general, but say you will return when we have need of you again." "But think my name," said Mulan, "and I shall come." The emperor gave Mulan the finest horse from his stables and sent a magnificent honor guard to accompany her home. After a long journey, Mulan and her soldiers rode up the dusty lane where she and her brother had played so many years ago. She dismounted and walked to the door of her home. For a moment she could not bring herself to knock. Then, just as she raised her hand, her mother opened the door. Mother and daughter looked at each other. This day both women's eyes filled with tears of joy. "I'm home," whispered Mulan. Mulan's father hobbled out the door. Mulan tried to give him back his sword, but he said, "No, no, it's yours. Keep it. You earned it." Mulan's little brother, grown now, almost a man, bowed to Mulan. She shook her head, smiled at him, and mouthed the word, "Roar." The young man blushed and grinned, then ran to the marketplace to fetch food and drink for a great celebration. Mulan entered her house and opened the door to her room. Nothing had been moved. The great general sighed and began unlacing her armor. Carefully she dressed herself in soft, colorful silks and wove flowers into her hair. She took a long look at herself in the mirror and laughed. Then, with her mother and father beside her, she went back out to face her soldiers. The men gasped. "Where is our general? Who are you?" "I am their daughter. I am your general. I am Mulan," she said. The soldiers shook their heads, amazed. Mulan's parents beamed with pride. Together they went inside to a marvelous feast to celebrate Mulan, their valiant daughter, Mulan, their wise general, Mulan, their hero for 1,000 years. The end.